All right, we are joined by good friend Gabby Herzig. Gabby, I wanted to have you on to discuss this story because it's not a story you see every day in the golf world. So I guess my first question would be, what tipped you off to this? Like, why did you decide to start pursuing this?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dan. I first started pursuing the story in collaboration with a colleague of mine. Her name is Carson Kessler. She's an investigative journalist here at The Athletic, and we were working on a story for months, actually, about stalking in sports and kind of the rising cases there in sports generally right now. And my task was basically to look into it on the LPGA side of things. And basically, this scam just kept popping up in my research and talking to players and talking to agents, people surrounding the women's game. And we've all seen those posts on Instagram and on Twitter from high-profile female golfers saying, this is my only account, look for the blue check mark, I'm not going to respond to any messages on other platforms. And I think that all registers with everyone, but no one really knew the story behind why those messages were posted so seriously.
So if someone doesn't know, they haven't seen, what is like, I know every situation is different, but what is sort of like, how does this usually go down?
Yeah, so how the scam usually works is typically there will be an account that impersonates a high-profile professional golfer, let's say Nelly Korda. So, if you look on Instagram, you'll see dozens of fake Nelly Korda accounts with 10 followers, 30 followers, and oftentimes they will go to accounts of people who are fans of the LPGA and follow them and message them and try to attract their attention. And these fake accounts will basically pose as the professional golfer and say, if you are truly a fan of me, you might want this VIP package, or you might want this special access to me, or a dinner. And they start offering these fans things, and they're enticed by the fact that they think Nelly Korda is actually messaging them and they're a fan in the first place. And oftentimes it spirals to the scammer asking to take things to another platform like WhatsApp or Telegram. And then from there, basically they ask for money in exchange for these proposed, special treatments for the fan. And it obviously turns out to be a scam. But in many cases, the people who are the scammed individuals in these cases don't realize this for a very long period of time. And in our research, some people were scammed out of tens of thousands of dollars, and over the course of a period as long as a year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously these scams exist like across the board. It's not just
not just
professional athletes, but like, why do you think fans of the LPGA have been a particularly ripe target for these scammers?
It's a good question, Dan. I would chalk it up to a number of things, particularly an older fan base, a male fan base. Definitely, we've seen that the types of people that are susceptible to these scams might not be familiar with social media and the policies around the blue check and official accounts. But oftentimes there is a romantic nature to these scams, and the person actually thinks that they're in a relationship with the player, and that's the scariest part.
That's the part of the story. That's the part of the story that really stopped me in my tracks, because you almost want to shake the person and say, how can you be so silly? But did in your research and your story, like, there was someone who literally believed they were going to be married to an LPGA player, wasn't there? Can you tell me that story?
Yes. There was a man who my colleague Carson spoke to his daughter, who was fully convinced that he was going to get married to Nelly Korda. They were communicating for months on end. He sent her large chunks of money, and the fake Nelly Korda large chunks of money. And it took months and months for his kids to try to convince him that this wasn't real. And he wasn't buying it because he was communicating with a person that did everything they possibly could to make it seem like it was actually Nelly. And the reason these are getting worse is because of AI. And there are ways for these scammers to create deepfake videos where, we actually included one of those in our story, where they will literally have the deepfake AI version of Nelly Korda say your name. People that aren't familiar with these types of technologies, like, it's very easy to fall for. So it's going to get worse and worse as the technology keeps getting better, which is the scariest part.
And from the player's standpoint, I mean, I'm sure they feel so guilty, but it's like at a certain point, like, the only thing what can you really do if you're a player who's someone's pretending to be you? The only thing you can do is, this is my only account. It's got a check mark for a reason, but like, they must feel awful.
Yeah, they do feel awful. I spoke to Nelly Corda, and she just repeatedly kept telling me how terrible she feels every time this happens. But the scariest part of this scam is that there have been repeated incidents of scammed individuals showing up at golf tournaments to confront the real athlete for something they had nothing to do with, and they're doing everything they already are possibly able to do to prevent it from happening. So there was one very scary incident that we included in the story with Rose Zhang, where a man who thought he had been communicating with Rose for a year drove 4 hours from Pennsylvania to the Mizuho Open in New Jersey, got to the course and said, I'm here for my VIP experience with Rose Zhang. She has a hotel room booked for me. I'm part of her team. And Rose Zhang's agent literally had to confront this man and tell him that none of this was actually happening. And he proceeded to tell Rose's agent that he had sent $70,000 to Rose, a fake Rose, over the past year.
So these things are basically like they're on these guys don't get caught, do they?
The scammers? No,
Yeah.
It's impossible. It's like playing whack-a-mole. We spoke to several security officials with the LPGA, and it's basically like you report one account and the next one, 20 pop up the next day. And it's really on the social media platforms to police this better, because right now they're doing very minimal, they're making very minimal efforts to help solve the issue. But it is a hard one to combat.
It's a gnarly combination. You've got lonely men out there. You've got young women. You've got AI, which I didn't even mean the deep fake stuff, because the way you would call out a scammer in the past is you'd be like, well, send me a picture with today's like newspaper, or say whatever it might be, like say my name and in a video. Mm-hmm. And they can just do that now. I don't know. Yeah. You're right. It's almost like it's on. It's mostly. I mean, you said Instagram mostly. I guess it has to be on Instagram. But what Instagram would say is, unless you are speaking to someone with a blue check, you are not speaking to the person that you think you're speaking to.
Yeah, absolutely. Or like if the athlete posts on their account, like these are my only accounts, then those are their only accounts. But I will say, as part of our reporting for the story, we created a fake profile on Instagram of an average, 62-year-old male LPGA fan, and followed our favorite golfers on that account. And within 20 minutes, we were targeted by a fake Nelly account. And then shortly after that, we were sent a deep fake video from that account. So it's happening very, very quickly. And it's not uncommon at all.
That's scary. Well, good work. Hopefully spreading the word on this. I think that's one of the great, hopefully, spread awareness is probably Instagram being a little bit better about their security tools, but then awareness on the part of the general public is probably the best way to combat this. But super interesting, fantastic work. And thanks for coming on, Gabby.
Thank you, Dan.